Welcome back, everybody. I'm Griffin. Let's get started. If the product of two numbers is 245 and the quotient of them is 5, what is the sum of the two numbers? So for problems like these, little puzzly problems, it's always important to write down what you know. If the product, what does product mean? Product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So if the product of two numbers is 245, so I'll call my two numbers x and y. So if x times y equals 245 and the quotient of them is 5, well, what is quotient? Quotient is the answer to a division problem. So if x divided by y equals 5, what is the sum of the two numbers? So we need to figure out what two numbers multiply each other to get to 245, and then what two numbers divided by them each other equals to 5. So the way we can solve this problem is we can kind of shift around and solve for one of our values in regards to the other value. So for example, let's look at this second equation. We have x divided by y equals 5. So we can multiply both sides of our equation by y times y and times y. These y's will cancel and we're left with x equals 5y. So now that we know that x equals 5y, we can plug 5y into x in our first equation. So instead of x times y equals 245, we have 5y times y equals 245. 5y times y is 5y squared equals 245. We can divide both sides by 5. 5 divided by 5y squared. Well, our 5's will just cancel and we'll be left with y squared. And then for 245 divided by 5, let's go up here where we have some more space and solve this problem. 5 goes into 24 4 times. 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract, we get 4, bring down our 5. 5 goes into 45 9 times. So 5 divided by 245 equals 49. So y squared equals 49. And so now we can take the square root of both sides. And so our squared and our square root will cancel, leaving us with y equals 7. So y equals 7. And so what will our x equal? Well, now we can plug in the number 7 back into our equation and solve for x. So what is our first equation saying? Well, it says x times y. Well, we just found out that y is 7. X times 7 equals 245. So to solve for x, we can divide both sides by 7. These 7's will cancel, and we're left with x equals 245 over 7. And so let's divide this out and see what this value is. 245 divided into 7. 7 goes into 24 3 times. 7 times 3 is 21. Subtract, get 3, bring down our 5. 7 goes into 35 5 times. So our answer is x equals 35 and y equals 7. Now, what is the question? It says, what is the sum of the two numbers? Sum means to add. So what is 35 plus 7? It is 42. So our answer here is going to be 42. Let's type this in. Excellent. Excellent. Let's continue forward. 10 distinct integers from the set 1 to 100 are chosen and their sum is 954. What is the smallest of these 10 numbers? Okay, so the question is saying if we add 10 different and distinct integers between 1 and 100, and these 10 numbers sum to 954, what is the smallest of these 10 numbers? So I'm initially thinking, well, is 1 possible? Is 1 possible to be the smallest? Because if so, then this would be the answer, right? And I'm thinking, and it is not. It needs to sum to 954. So what I'm thinking, well, what's the closest round number to this? The closest round number is 950. And 950 and 10 numbers, well, this is going to be 95 times 10 equals 950. So this is saying the average of our numbers needs to be 95. And actually, it needs to be a little bit more than 95 since the sum is actually 954. So and our numbers need to be different. So let me construct a number line with 95 in the middle, and hopefully you can see my thought process. I'm thinking, okay, we could have 95, then 94 is on this side, 96 is on this side, 93, 97, 92, 98, 91, 99. How many numbers is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then if we added one more, the 100, what would these numbers sum to? Well, we have 95 is in the center, and then we have these on the outside. So what I'm connecting are averages of 95. So what I'm thinking, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 100. So what does this sum to? Well, this is going to be 95 times 9 plus 100. Right? And what is 95 times 9? Well, it's going to be, and what is 100? 100 is simply 95 plus 5 extra. So we can say this is 95 times 10 plus 5, which is 955. So this string of numbers must sums to 955. Well, this is one too many. So what I can do is I can, instead of having 91, let's replace this with one less. Let's replace 91 with 90. And then, so that means 90 plus 92, 93, 94, 95 through 100. This must sum to 954. So 90 is the smallest number out of these 10. So 90 must be our answer. So this answer is 90. Excellent. So I might have gone a little bit fast on this problem, but I hope you can see what I was thinking and how I solved it. I saw that our total sum was 954, so I constructed my 10 numbers centrally around 95. And whenever I summed these 10 digits, we saw that it was 955, which is one larger than our desirable answer. And so I just took our smallest number and subtracted one off of it. So our sum would be what we desired, and our smallest number is now 90. So that is how I got the answer. Let's continue forward. Clear our board. All right, evaluate 5 times 10 plus 15 divided by 20 times 25 plus 30 times 35 divided by 40 plus 45 minus 50. All right, this seems interesting. So we need to remember our order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We need to do parentheses first, then exponents, multiply, divide, and then add and subtract. And we'll multiply and divide from left to right. So I see we have a 5 times 10, 15 divided by 20, and 30 times 35. So these will be our first victims. So 5 times 10 is 50. And then we're going to have plus 15 divided by 20. Well, that's not a nice round number now, is it? 15 divided by 20. Let's go over here. We have 15 divided by 20. This is going to be a decimal. 20 goes into 15 0 times. This might actually be easier to, let's leave this as a fraction. So what do we have? We have 15 over 20. The number 5 goes into both of these, so we can divide both the numerator and denominator by 5, and we're left with 3/4. So we have 50 plus 3/4. And then this is going to be times 25, but we have not done this yet, plus 30 times 35. So what is 30 times 35? Let's go out over here. 30 times 35. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 0, so 10. And then let's add our 0. So 1050 is this value, and then we're going to be dividing by 40, and then we'll finish out by adding 45 and subtracting 50. So let's get some space. Let's clear this up. So these problems they're not hard, but they take a little bit of time and a little bit of due diligence to make sure you do them in the proper order. So what is 3/4 times 25? Well, this is so we have 50 plus 25 times 3 is 75, right? 3/4 is 75 cents. So we have 75 over 4. Oops, not 40, just over 4. Plus, now we need to do 1050 divided by 40. Let's do this over here. So 40 divided by 1050. Well, we can slash these zeros, right? And so it's just 4 divided by 105 is the same thing. 4 goes into 10 twice. 8, subtract, get 2, bring down our 5. And 4 goes into 25 6 times. And then we have a remainder of 1. So this is going to be 26 1/4. So we'll look at this. This is a fourth, this is a fourth, so we actually didn't even need to divide this. Let's just leave this as 105/4. Let's just leave it as this. Okay. And then we have our plus 45 minus 50. So again, 1050 divided by 40, we're just cutting these zeros off, and we are left with 105 divided by 4. And we're keeping it in this form because we have another fraction with a denominator of 4, and we always like our fractions to have the same denominator. It makes it easy. Okay, now we just have to add and subtract. And so let's finish this up. Well, we can, by the associative property, we can add and subtract, or we can add in any order, right? As in 2 plus 3 is the same thing as 3 plus 2. It doesn't matter which order we do that in. So we can add these first. Let's add these fractions together, and we're going to get 180 over 4. And this does simplify, right? 180 divided by 4. Well, to divide by 4, you can divide by 2 twice. 180 divided by 2 is 90, and divided by 2 again is 45. So this value is 45. So let me change colors, get a nice strawberry. So what do we have? We have 50 plus 45 plus 45 minus 50. And what does this give us? Well, our 50s are going to cancel, and we're left with 45 plus 45, which is 90. So I believe our answer to this problem is 90. Excellent. Excellent work. Again, this problem just takes a little bit of due diligence, following our initial order of operations to make sure we do these operations first. And then after that, everything kind of falls nicely into place. Let's continue forward. If the product of two numbers is 288 and the quotient is 8, what is the sum of the two numbers? So this is really similar to our first problem, right? Yeah, this is really similar. So this is going to be the exact same process. So I might go a little bit faster. The product, x times y equals 288. The quotient, x divided by y, equals 8. And so what does this mean? Well, again, we can take x divided by y, x over y equals 8, which means we multiply both sides by y, and we're left with x equals 8y. We can plug 8y into our initial expression, and so we're left with, in this first expression, instead of x, we have 8y, as we're just plugging it in, times y equals 288. So this is 8y squared equals 288. We divide both sides by 8. 288 divided by 8 is, I think, 36, but let's double check. 288 divided by 8. 8 goes into 28 3 times. 24, subtract 4, 8. 8 goes in 48 6 times. Yes, it is 36. So y squared is 36. So we take the square root, and the square root of 36 is 6. So y here equals 6. And then we can think, last time we plugged y into this second equation, into the first equation, and then divided 288 by 6. Well, here, let's think about it. If we look at the second equation, what do we have? Let's clear up a little bit of space. Change colors. All right, so we have x divided by 6 equals 8. So it's actually, this might be a little bit easier to do it this way. We can multiply both sides by 6 and get x equals to 48. So what is the sum of our two numbers? Well, x is 48 and y is 6, and 48 plus 6 is what? 54, right? 6 plus 8 is 14. Put a 4, carry a 1, 54. Yes. So we will say 54 for our answer. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, excellent. Let's continue to our last problem of this video. Choose 3 numbers out of the 4 and then and multiply them. Call the product P and let A and B be the greatest and least possible values of P. respectively. What is the value of A minus B? Okay, so what I'm thinking for this problem is, okay, well, we have, oops, that was not intended for all those, for those staggerings. We just have one straight number line, okay? We have some number line. 0 is in our center. This is our positive side. This is our negative side. We're multiplying 3 of these numbers, and we want the largest possible number and the smallest possible number. 3 of our numbers are negative, and it's important to know that a negative number times a negative number equals a positive number. For example, negative 3 times negative 6, this equals positive 18. Our two minus signs, our two negatives, will cancel and to make a positive. So to have the smallest number, it's going to have to be negative, as we have negative signs here, and we need an odd number of negative signs. So our smallest number is going to be what? It's going to be negative 9 times negative 6 times negative 3, and our largest number is going to be negative 9 times negative 6 times positive 7. And again, this will be a large positive number, as our two negative signs are going to cancel. On the right hand side, on our larger number, we have negative 9 times negative 6. 9 times 6 is 54, so this is going to be positive 54. And then times a 7. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 2 is 37. So our largest number is 378. And then what is our smallest number? Let's change colors. All right. We have, again, negative 9 times negative 6 is 54. But this time it's times a negative 3. It's multiplied by a negative 3. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15, plus our 1 is 162. And then don't forget our negative sign. So we're 162 on the negative side, and then on the positive side we're at a larger 378. And so what is the question? The question asks for A minus B. So it wants to know what's the space, what's the difference between our larger and smaller number. So here we have our number line, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult thinking about subtracting negative numbers. But here the difference is just the space between our numbers. So it's going to take 162 steps to get from negative 162 to 0. And then we're going to go 378 more steps. So if we just add these numbers, we'll know the difference. And what is 162 plus 378? Well, 8 plus 2 is 10. Put a 0, carry a 1. 7 plus 7 is 14. Put a 4, carry your 1. And 3 plus 1 is 5. So the difference between these two values is 540. So this will be our answer. Let's type it in, 540. Fantastic. Excellent work, everybody. I hope you followed along what was happening. I hope you learned some great problem-solving strategies. Please let me know down in the comments below what you enjoyed and what you did not enjoy. I want to tailor these videos to be as helpful as possible for all of you. If you have suggestions for what you would like me to do, please let me know that as well. If you have not already, please subscribe to my channel. It really does help. And until next time, take care, everybody.